What's up, everybody? I am back here with Joe again, and today we're going to be talking about payment companies online. And Joe's really informed about this and very articulate, so I'm excited to learn a bit more from like a banker's perspective on what technology companies are doing now.
Thank you, Jack, for having me. I'm basically going to use my screen here to kind of run you through three different payment companies that are operating in the fintech segment.
And for reference, fintech
yes.
is financial technology. I didn't know what fintech was earlier, and I used it, and I was like, whoa, fancy word.
Absolutely. This is similar to medtech, medical technology, or proptech, property technology. Fintech is a word that integrates financial technologies. Great. So with that said, I just wanted to give you a brief understanding of where we are on this. We will be talking about three companies, PayPal, Stripe, and Adyen. And I will try to give you a brief overview on these particular companies and kind of, what they do and how they can help different young entrepreneurs, startup companies, and people across the world.
And that's something that I'm trying to learn more about for my international audience, is to really break down and understand how to access and use money online when you're in a country that traditionally has less access to this information. For example, right now I'm in Nicaragua, and one of the reasons I'm able to live very well here is because I have a US identity. This enables me to have US banking and use all of that in Nicaragua. Whereas for my Nicaraguan friends, it's a little bit more complicated for them to access the money that they earn online. For example, they could create a PayPal account, but a Nicaraguan bank account cannot link to a PayPal account. So you have to do some workarounds in order to be able to get your money out of your PayPal account and into your hands. And this is an obstacle that most people overseas are going to face. And it's not an impossibility, it's absolutely doable, but the information is inconvenient enough that many people are stopped from changing their lives because they don't even realize that it's possible.
That is absolutely correct, Jack. And transforming these digital transfers into cash can be difficult and may require you to have bank accounts or credit cards in place in order to link with an existing payment company such as PayPal in order to get liquid cash from your receivables. Great. So as we mentioned, I mean, all of these companies, they basically operate in a multitude of countries, maybe 100 plus countries. The specific countries will have to be consulted within the fine print, PayPal, Stripe, Adyen. And the types of services, again, there's multiple types of services, such as payment services, such as maybe working capital advances in certain cases, so on and so forth. Each of these companies, the three companies that we're going to be talking about, two of them are publicly listed. One of them is private and is not listed in the markets. Two of them are American companies, one public and one private, and one of them is a European company. They also have a different employee numbers. A lot of the employees here work in the technology divisions and in the customer service divisions, trying to assist businesses and people transfer money across countries. As mentioned earlier, they all have different geographical reaches, and they are not equivalent to banks per se because they do not accept deposits as such. However, they do offer banking services, which is fundamental. Great. So just to run through, maybe what I've done here is I've just opened a PayPal kind of website. And here you could go ahead and, open a paypal.me link. You have many reasons to use these types of services. With a banking account and a debit card, you can actually proceed to open an account, link your account, and then make a transfer to any business. So in essence, make any purchase online. Sorry, this is in Spanish, but since we're in Nicaragua, just wanting to give a few inputs. We do a lot of companies partner with a lot of companies, so you can make your payments online, so on and so forth. And of course, you can make phone calls to people whenever you have some help, you need some help, and you want to make respective payments. Security is something of an issue in these particular mechanisms, specifically for PayPal, because PayPal is a listed company and it has over 18,700 employees.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. In fact, it's around 25% of maybe a commercial bank powerhouse, such as Banco Santander or BBVA or maybe Standard Chartered Bank, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So 20%. And maybe you can, Jack, in later subsequent videos, kind of go through the customer experience of how it is to navigate as a business or how it is to navigate as an individual and get these accounts set up depending where you are. But a little bit more about the company is this company is one of the first companies in the industry, and it's one of the best and strongest. It basically was founded around 20 years ago by top people. The founders are listed here, and it's also traded in multiple segments, multiple capital markets. It's listed in the Nasdaq 100 component, which is quite a sophisticated advancement in itself. And it was acquired by eBay at some point. Therefore, there was a valuation early in July 2002, and then it went and it was divested. It span out from eBay. So this was a part of eBay. However, now it's an individual entity. It's a company that has made a lot of acquisitions. So it's grown inorganically per se. All the customers, they've paid prices, 945, almost $1 billion, so on and so forth, almost $1 billion. And they've acquired different companies, increasing their user base, their transactions, and their transaction payment volume, in essence, to grow and become the best they are. Offices across all the world, multiple services, which I mentioned earlier, and there is a business model evolution. This is just a Wikipedia page, and it's not like a 10K filing or SEC filing. I think that was a little bit too extreme maybe for this video right now, especially with all the things that happen. So, just this is a very basic overview, and I hope it helps. Lots of countries, and there is regulation that clearly they have to abide by because of, we have banks which have been established for over 200 years. They've gone through reserve requirement regulations, and we have to regulate these companies. Have to be regulated, and specifically with the international reach and the geographic advancement, the regulations, the cross-border regulations are pivotal and important for the development.
And it's whenever you're learning about or using these services, so for some reference for those of you in my audience, I know a lot of you guys, you don't really work directly with PayPal. Usually people have a PayPal account because they created an account on eBay, and PayPal was the payment gateway of choice by eBay for most of its history. This is changing, and eBay is actually moving towards Adyen and expects to be fully integrated with Adyen in 2023, I believe, so in about 4 years. But it's important to understand the history behind these companies because it enables you to better understand your business. And also, in my case, for example, I had an eBay account that also grew the PayPal account because I created the PayPal account for eBay. And even though I got banned on eBay, my PayPal account has grown and is quite valuable because now it receives payments instantly. I have a long history with PayPal, and at times I'm able to get capital and cash flow options because of my history with PayPal. And the way that people use PayPal outside of eBay is usually just to process the payments for their existing store. So someone could make a website and they have a product that they're creating and they need some way to accept payments from people in a convenient way. And this is how they would handle it, by using a service like PayPal.
Yes, absolutely. Everything is on top of things. So yeah, let me move now to a little bit about Stripe. Stripe is another payments gateway. It's an amazing payment gateway, and I particularly like this because this is some code. The technology guys that are integrating the code, they create code, and then you can create a payment gateway inside your website. So Joe creates a website. He basically wants to produce a payment gateway so that people can check out on his products and so on and so forth. So Stripe, what it has in particular, it actually has a different type of billing system. In essence, you can make recurring payments or one-stop payments. You can configure the payment button for your website in a very particular fashion that is customized on the basis of your business needs. So I find Stripe to be also one of the best companies here so far. And you can check on pricing just to see how the things are.
So it seems that Stripe is more focused on, it's more customizable, more flexible than PayPal is. Would you say that's true?
I think that's very true. And Stripe is the only company out of these three that is a private company, which is distinguished by itself for XY reason, but it's distinguished. And it's focused more on customers, as you rightly mentioned. Again, I believe this was founded by top guys who attend top business schools, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's very simple to connect this to your business or to your website. And if you actually feel that you cannot connect this to have a customized pricing package, you can always look at using the platforms such as Udemy or Teachable, so that they can process payments for you, or any e-commerce gateway system per se.
Yeah, for example, Udemy deposits money directly into PayPal accounts. That's usually how they pay out. Whereas Teachable deposits directly into bank accounts through ACH transfer. ACH, is that what it's called?
Yeah, an automated clearinghouse transfer, which is in essence a fund transfer.
Gotcha.
To your bank accounts. Yeah. Next we have Adyen, and Adyen was new to me. This company basically is listed in the Euronext. Adyen. Again, it's a young company, 2006, unlike Stripe, which is the only private company 7 years ago founded. This was founded in 2006, so it's also a very young company when looking at the PayPal, which is a leader in this type of. And if you look at the employees, 880.
Way less than PayPal.
Yeah. Versus Stripe, which is also similar age. Mm-hmm. 1,300. So we see where the businesses are going and kind of where the people are going. So Adyen, is another payments company. It has interesting services. For example, online payments, as we already discussed, and point of sale. Point of sale is looking at traditional bricks and mortar companies and having some sort of in-store payment mechanism so that people can check out and buy their goods. Marketplaces also. Marketplaces, as mentioned, if you go and you create a nice marketplace, you're going to eventually want to integrate it with a payment company such as one of these three, so that your customers, which are coming in bulk, will be able to check out and take your products. Great. So these are kind of like, the three companies a little bit. Their GUI is very interesting. They have graphic user interface. They have very sharp ways of coming out to the market and being the payment providers. And the one metric that, if I have to recommend kind of two metrics today when looking at three fintech companies operating in the payment space, not in the brokerage space or maybe not in the lending space, it'll be the employees and it'll be the total transaction volume or total payment volume. How much funding is transferred cross-border on a periodic basis? These would be the two metrics that I would kind of review when looking maybe to either invest in these companies, work with these companies, or make a decision to take these companies on board.
That makes sense, because if you're not looking at any metrics, then they're just names of companies. But if you understand, like, okay, this company has 20,000 employees, or this company has 1,000, it starts to kind of develop a picture in your head of the scale at which the companies operate. Because even if a company looks great on a website, if it's just one person, and it's in finance, maybe not as reliable or as interesting as a company that has some history, has a couple hundred employees, and has proved itself in that sense.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, just a simple, PayPal, for example, if I go to like, all right. If you go to PayPal kind of in investor relations and you look at maybe annual report, say 2000. Okay, this particular page is not available right now, but we could open any supplemental operating financial data, and one of the things that you'll see here is that payment volume is one of the key and kind of important uses here. Like if you see in 2014, 15, and 16, you're going to see an increment of 234 billion in this case.
Wow.
281, 354. So we see like increases in the amount of trading that these companies are doing. And this is one of the metrics that is very important when looking at the type of, because if you just take a 2, 5, 10% fee out of the total transaction volume on all the operating businesses, we can do a small kind of back of the envelope calculations on what these companies are looking at.
It's very interesting. I've never looked at this kind of document before, so this is all new to me.
Yeah, this is all public information. It's not like kind of press oriented, such as the Wikipedia, because a lot of people can come and edit this. I'm not very familiar, so I don't want to opinionate. But all these companies are stellar companies, and they have the total payment volume is a very important metric here. Yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much my take. On these companies and how they could be very useful for those trying to grow in the digital space. And I highly encourage anybody to consider these as they grow in their internet business.
So, out of curiosity, do you know anything about Payoneer?
Yeah, I'm not very familiar other than the logo.
Mm-hmm. What kind? So say that you had to compare like Payoneer to PayPal.
Yeah.
Is that something like? Do you feel that you understand what the difference is? Because I as a U.S. person, it's kind of hard for me to understand and grapple the exact ways that people overseas will use these services to access their money. I am aware that my Moroccan audience cannot link their Moroccan bank accounts to PayPal, and if they can, there is a hard limit of like $1,000 a year, which is like $1,000 is a lot of money to some people, but if you can only take 1,000 out in a whole 12-month period, that's a pretty huge limitation. So they will work around this by using a Payoneer account, which essentially, as far as I understand, is a bank account that's online. And to PayPal, Payoneer looks like a U.S. bank account. So when you talk to PayPal, if you use the word Payoneer, they don't really like working with you because there was some history with Payoneer. However, if you just provide your account information of Payoneer, all that you're providing is an account number and a routing number so that you can transfer money that way. And so my Moroccan audience has told me that that's what they do basically, is that they call PayPal and they add their Payoneer account to their PayPal account, but they don't say that it's a Payoneer account because something about Payoneer's history, PayPal views as sketchy. But for whatever reason, it does allow the linking of a Payoneer account because it's just an account. PayPal doesn't necessarily know that it is a Payoneer account. And so what happens then is because it's recognized as a U.S. account by PayPal, PayPal accounts can transfer money into the Payoneer account, and then the Moroccan people can get a little debit card mailed to them where they go pick it up at a hub in Morocco, and then they can use that card to get the money that they've earned online and overcome that $1,000 barrier that we talked about earlier. So when they do this, they are paying a fee. They pay a percentage. I think it's like 1 or 2%. So that is relevant because if you're drop shipping, that lowers your margins, right? But it enables you to do something that otherwise would be impossible. And personally, I'm trying to learn more about these kinds of options and if there's other companies that allow such things.
Yeah, so that's a very valid kind of request. I think you're looking at a micro aspect, given that we're looking at $1,000 less. If I have to compare these companies, I would look at it more from a valuation perspective, where I'm looking at the payment volume, the number of transactions, the number of users, and the historical growth incrementally from a corporate level, right? From an investment level.
Yeah.
From a micro decision guy like me going to check in, I'm going to look at the fees. Like how much of my payment is being reduced, is being paid out as a liability or as a commission or as an upfront fee to these entities. So $1,000 is some money. Therefore, I would look at the payment, how much I have to pay the company to use the company. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question very specifically, but I hope I gave you some direction.
Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, even learning like I've learned from this call more about Stripe and about Adyen and about PayPal, which means my audience has as well. And again, a lot of them don't really they just have a PayPal account because of their work with eBay. They don't necessarily understand that a PayPal account itself can be quite a valuable thing and that you can use that to earn money online in other ways aside from eBay. And so I love doing these calls, and I'm trying to just connect with as many people as possible to learn about this great open world that the internet has created, because we all have so much access to opportunity. Like even one generation ago, in my case, for example, my father He lived in Sri Lanka. He taught for international schools in the 70s and 80s. And he was amazed at how much further money went in these environments because he could get a job and be paid in pounds or whatever. He would work for the British international schools and then live in these foreign countries. And he could have a good life. The problem, however, was that he wasn't contributing to his future, to his retirement or anything like this. Whereas in my case now, I can run a YouTube channel. I can receive payments online. There's all of this stuff that technology has enabled that allows me to live an amazing, fulfilling life, even though I'm very similar in personality and style to my father. But he just wasn't around when all of these technologies existed. And it can be quite overwhelming trying to understand exactly what people mean when they say that the internet has changed everything. Because we now live in an age where if you want to accomplish something, you can do it. It's not a matter of if it's possible or not possible. It's a matter of you identifying the services and information necessary for you to accomplish the task. Whereas 30 or 40 years ago, some things were just impossible.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you mentioned that because I went to an international school myself, well, I just wanted to shed light that as we proceed with the future and transactions and how the payments world is moving, first of all, these companies are growing big and they're growing big quickly, and it's avalanching because they have, $300 million, 300 million credit cards on system, So they grow quickly, and when they grow quickly, previously in banking, there was, Swiss Basel regulations creating reserve requirements for banks. Now, I do not know whether this will be the case for these types of institutions or how they will be transcending, geographies and so on and so forth. And credit versus cash has become, a concern in the emerging growth and first world economies.
Yeah, we live in an age where debt is part of life. Like in the United States, the average family household has over like $17,000 in debt. And that's if you include like mortgages and stuff. The number is actually higher than that. I'm just saying 17 because I know that it's more than that, right? And like to try and explain to like Nicaraguans here, like, oh yeah, a lot of US people owe $17,000. They're just like, what? Like that is insane. Yet it's part of our culture. It's part of our life. And it's very interesting. Especially if you look at like the history of the United States, there's only one point in its entire history where the country was not in debt. And yet the USA is one of the biggest economies in the world, one of the places people move to create business. Yet as an entity, it is owing money. It's so fascinating to think about this, and really it just goes to show that we live in a time of like ripe with so much opportunity and uncertainty that if you can just expose yourself to information and really educate yourself, goes a long way.
Yeah, and just to add on that, I mean, if somebody has a computer and has internet and has a processing power to go through 15 tabs of Chrome, and each of those tabs are kind of, maybe press, media, then people will be educated. Like, obviously, I think you understand my point.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just our obstacles have changed now. It's about your head. Your limitations are in your mind because the world is ripe with so much information. It's all about just being able to expose yourself. And so my roommate actually just brought me some information because I'd said that like the average American has $17,000 in debt. And if you look at older millennials, so ages 25 to 34, these people on average have $42,000 in US debt. And that includes mortgages and student loans mostly.
These are families or
this is households. Yeah.
Household comprises of 4 people, right?
In general, yeah. Let me look at this real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if this is... Oh, this is actually... Okay, the average American, not the average American household. So I was wrong. It's not
Nope.
households. It's... And again, that $42,000 is for people between ages 25 and 34. And most of it is from... Oh, actually, most of it is not... Okay, 16% of it is from student debt, whereas mortgages is actually only 3%. So that's interesting.
Interesting, yeah, absolutely. And clearly debt. So one of the things that, I talk about in my videos is balance sheet optimization, or, we have, whenever you want to buy a car, for example, you got to buy it with your own funds or some debt or a combination of both, which is liabilities plus equity. That goes on to fund your asset. So, these are important things to keep in mind whenever making any type of decision, like buying or an asset, for example.
Awesome. And so I think with that, we can end this video. And for those of you watching, if you want to check out Joe's YouTube channel, he has courses on Udemy and a YouTube channel. And I'm excited to do more work. It's really, really interesting to work with someone in your perspective, Joe, because like earlier when and I'm calling you Joe. Is that how I should refer to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
cool.
that's fine. We're men.
And so earlier when I brought up something, and from my perspective, it was very different. And then like I never even thought of like looking at these companies as like how big they are and their employees and like the bigger picture. I always look at it as like an individual. Like, okay, which one can I work with? Which one's going to charge me more? So it's really refreshing for me to talk to somebody who like has just a completely different experience, because from your experience you work with people to figure out like, okay, is this worth investing in, how are they performing, etc. And it's really valuable for me as an individual.
Yes, and I hope it helps, and kind of feeds into your audience, and I'm there to help in any other thing. I hope there was some value. Sorry it wasn't so detailed as some investment bankers can get very detailed here,
Yeah, I could imagine, man. Well, luckily, probably not a lot of them are watching my channel because it's usually pretty casual. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys. I'll see you next time. Ciao.